Hello, I'm Dragoș, and in this video we're going to take a look to a self-hosted application that can help you manage your SSH connections and files and see stats about your servers in an web UI, so you can easily access the details of that server and administer the server easily. And this is the interface, and in here you will see that you will have the details with recent activity. You will have options to add a server. You will have the server status. So for instance, this is my Dokploy server, and if we're going to check the server in here and open the server details, you will have access to this interface that will show you, for instance, memory usage, disk usage, CPU usage, SSH logins, and the OS version. Then you can go, for instance, and open a terminal connection, and in here you can go and work in the terminal with the server. Besides that, you can go and open a file manager session in here, and you will be able to go and check the files on this server. You can view them if there are, for instance, code files, video files, and so on. We're going to see this. You can create, upload new files. You can see them in different ways, and besides that, you will have also this option in here to go and create SSH recordings. You have the options to add snippets in here with most useful commands. You have a history, and you have the options to use a split screen. So basically, this is the applications that we're going to see how you can self-host it and how you can use it, and how I am using it to access my home lab also from here. So basically I am having this public instance, and in here I have access to my home lab, and in here I can go and connect to my house from anywhere in the world. So this is the application, and in here you have their website, and you have the docs.termix.site in this area, and you have their GitHub repo. So in here you have access to this, and you will find out more about how to configure this and what this application it's all about. But you can go also and check their repository, and in here you will see that this is actively worked on. Right now you have the 1.9.0 release, which was released back in November 17, and in here you can go and give it a start, because this is a nice application, and you see that it has quite a lot of stars right now, and I am liking what they've did. And in here you will see all the details with all the features. Already I've created a detailed article with all of these things that you are going to check and help you deploy this. So this is their website, this is their repository. You can go and give it a check, and in here I've created an article with two options that you can have this self-hosted, and some basic overview about what the application is all about and what it's offering. And in here you are going to see that you will have two options to deploy this. So basically you're gonna need a VPS server or self-hosted solution with a home lab in case you want to deploy this. And here I've created the two options. So the first option, it will be to use the Dokploy, and basically when you are using Dokploy, you are just putting the network in here for the Dokploy network. So you can add a domain in there. We're going to see how I have self-hosted this, and you're gonna create with the Termix data. So basically in here you will have all the configurations, and in here you put the network and that's it, and then you just add the domain. We're going to see how I already deployed this in the Dokploy, and if you don't want to use Dokploy, you can also self-host this quite easily. I've put the details in here for the compose file. Again, you are just fetching the image, then you are just adding the ports in here. Of course, if you're using traffic or anything like that, you will need to add the labels for traffic, and depending on what you are using in here, you can modify this accordingly. But this is quite easy to deploy. You just pull the image and you use the port, you put them in here, and in here in the environment you have also the port that the application will work with. And after you configure everything, you just go and do the docker compose up -d with detach, and you can configure then the domain or Cloudflare tunnels for this, depending on what you want. And yeah, basically these are the deployment options. It's quite easy. And in here, let me go and access my Dokploy. So this is my Dokploy installation, and in here, if you're going to go to Salesforce application, Termix, it's already in here, and you see that I've just used the details that I've provided you in there. So I've created a compose file. We're going to check it after. In the environment variables, I don't have anything, and in the domain side, I've configured the domain for this to be accessible with my termix.app.bdoze.com, and in here I've created an HTTPS with a Let's Encrypt certificate, and that's about it that you need to do to have this configured in Dokploy. And in here you have the logs with the details. So in here it tells that it cannot fetch the details for a server that I have in there. And if you're going to check the DNS records to point this domain in there, you'll see that I have a wildcard, so you'll need to create an A record to be able to use a domain in here. So basically you just go to your DNS provider, you go and create an A record in here, and you're pointing the name to your server IP like this. So you put the name in here, you put the IP address of the server, and you should have the details configured to access this through HTTPS. So yeah, it's that easy to configure it. And yeah, if for instance, if you're wanting to check more on Dokploy and how you can configure it in there, and you go in here, you create a service, you choose the compose, in here you put the Termix 2 because I already have one. Okay, doesn't like this Termix A. Okay, and in here I have the Termix 2, and in here you will have the options to put the details like this. You save it, and then you in the domain side you just go and add the domain in here, and in here you are just gonna refresh this. So to go to the Termix, you put the host, you put the port 8080 it was. In there, you enable HTTPS with Let's Encrypt. You hit create like this. Okay, you add a domain name in here that you want to configure. You hit create, and you just then hit deploy. And you will be hosting the Termix application into your Dokploy. And right now, let's go and check more details the application after I delete this, because I don't need it. So after you will be prompted to access Termix, and in here Termix is accessed with termix.app.bdoze.com in my case, and this is the interface in here. And let's make the things better. And in here you have the host manager, for instance. Let me close this, and in here you'll have all the hosts. So right now I have 5 hosts installed in here, and for instance, if we're going to check the AI coder, this one is the one that I'm using for AI. Like this, you can go and see the general information. You can create a tunnel in here. You have the options to configure the file manager. You have the options to configure the statistics and the interval from what time to pull the details in here for 30 to 30 seconds. I let it, this is the default thing, and in here you have the options what to pull. You can also pull the processes if you want with the top processes like this. Let's put it like this. And yeah, this is the interface in here with the host manager. And in here, these are the connections with the tabs. I'll just close them so you can see all the details like this. And yeah, this is the main view of this. You can access it like this in here with the home. And in here you have the version, you have the recent activity, you have the options to add a host. So you can add a host quite easily in here with like this. Just go and add the host. And in here you'll put the IP, port, username, host name that will appear in here. You have the options to choose also a folder. You can add a tag. You can put a password in here. You can put a key. You can create a credential or none to input the password every time. You can add a jump host in here. So in case you're having like a private subnet with a jump host, you can add a jump host in here to access your private server directly. And yeah, like this you can add a host in here. And again, after the host is added in here, you have like these two options. The first option is to open the terminal, and in here you have more options to view the server details. In here, and again, the server details, it will be something like this. Again, the CPU, memory, disk, network interface, uptime, system information. Here you have the details with the host name, the operating system and the kernel, SSH logins, and the processes, because I've just added the processes, so you'll see the processes that are using the most, like maybe CPU, memory. In here you see that Droid, it's using the most memory for this one. So you have a simple overview with these details. You can go and refresh it. In here you can open, for instance, the file manager like this, and in here you will see that you will have access to the file manager and access to all the files. In here are some of the details that I've opened previously. And for instance, let's go into the root to check some of the details in there. You'll have access to the hidden files also. Even if you're going to open the factory AI, in here you'll have some JSON, for instance, that you can go and open like this. You will double click it and the details will be open. You will have the options to see it easily with a highlighting syntax in here, and you can go and modify it in here. Like for instance, let's tell it to put it a 1 in here, and you will have the options to revert it, save it, download it. I will just revert it like this. In here you have the options to see the shortcuts. You can search through these files and so on. So basically you have a file view to your server quite easily in this nice interface, and you can go and open, for instance, also video files in case you have it, but you are limited to 500 megabytes like this, and you can easily go and have access to your files on the server. You can create a new file, you can upload it, you can download it easily. So you have also a right click in here. You can go and right clicking and download it, compress the file, rename it, copy it, cut it, delete it if you want. So yeah, you have this nice interface in there that you can go and work with. But again, the most appealing feature for me, it's the options to go and work with the terminal. And here, for instance, you see that I have access through the terminal, and if I go and ask, put a command in here, you can go and work it in the terminal. And here I've opened Droid, my AI agent, and I can go and chat with it through this web interface directly on the VPS server. So what is here? I'm just showing you that this is working also with some AI things in case you want to have a nice interface. And right now it's checking the details with the things that I have in the directory where I've started this. And yeah, I mean, you can use this as a normal terminal. You can go, for instance, and check things. You see that you have access to syntax highlighting, tab auto completion in case you are installing all of the details on the server like this. So for instance, you see in here that you have access to autocomplete like this, and you have a nice format with Starship. So I have installed Starship on this server, and it is formatting the details. So for instance, let's see what I have in here. Project, you see that it sees the details in there. Okay, and in here, if we're going to check, for instance, Bitdose, this is my website, you will have access to the details in here, in this nice web interface, directly with Starship. So if in case you are configuring like a terminal tool to make it nicer, it will work also in here. And again, in here in the right side, in the top, you have the options to go to the tools, and what you can do in here, you have the options to add snippets. So in case you are having some commands that you are using, like restart Nginx, and I don't know, check things and things like that. You can create snippets and run it from here easily. You will have access to the history in here, and you see that you can go, for instance, and put it, clicking on it, and like this, and you will have access to the comments, split screen. So basically in here you will have the options to split this into different split screens. So you have in here like 3, 4, and it will work with the open tabs that you have in here. So you can go, for instance, and put it like this, apply split, and in here right now you will have like an option to have different screens. So you see that in here, this is the server stats that I have. In here I have the files. Of course, yeah, it is taking the space in here, and use that, and in here you have the terminal. So you can configure this in the way you like it without a problem. So this is quite nice. And another thing that I am having in here, you see that this is my home lab with a mini PC that I am having. And in here what I've I've installed Tailscale. So for the one that doesn't know, Tailscale is like an option to have like a VPN or connect the equipment between your home network and another server. So I'm using Tailscale to add the equipment to a subnet that it's administered by Tailscale, and all of these servers have connectivity between them, and in this way you can go and access your home lab directly. So you install Tailscale, you install their agent on your home lab, you install it on the Docker installation with your Termix, and then you can go and connect with SSH without a problem. So in here, if we're going to check the options, you'll see that I'm using the Tailscale IP address with the user to connect to this and have access to the files on my home network directly from this interface. And you can use Tailscale, you can use Netbird, I think it was another one. Yeah, so you have two options, Tailscale and Netbird, that are completely free, that can help you put all of this into an, let's say, a subnet that all the equipment communicate with each other. In case you want like a detailed video on that, I can create one, but yeah, like this you can also configure this Termix to talk with your, let's say, private nodes that are in your home lab or are now in a private network, let's say. And in here you see that I have different servers. I have my Cloud IRM where I'm hosting my WordPress website, and with one click you can go and connect to this and see the details and see what is happening in here. You have access to open the files and go and check the files, easily edit a configuration file directly in here without the need to go and spin up a terminal connection or go into the VI to edit a file. So yeah, this looks quite nice, and yeah, in here you'll have all the tabs. You can go and open and close these tabs. Okay, what else in here you have? Let's see, let me close this. So in here you have the user profile, and in here in the user profile you have the options to enable two-factor authentication. You have the option to change the language. You see that you can have these languages in here, you file color coding, so you can go and configure some things. In the security, two-factor authentications, change the password. In here you have the options to refresh this. You have the options to hide this in case you don't want it, then you can open this. You have the options to change the size of this. And yeah, I mean, this is the interface, and in here you can go, for instance, and you can create like different folders and group things together in here. And yeah, you have the options to import the JSON, to download the JSON, refresh, format guide in here that will send you to. And this is the Termix application. And, in case you want to easily administer your server without the need to go and log in the terminal for each server. Then you should take a look on this Termix and see what it's about. Of course, when you have this configured to talk with all of the server, you need to properly secure it. So in case someone breaks into this, do not have access to all of your servers. So you need to think also on that, and yeah, and be like aware that this can constitute a problem in some cases. So yeah, let me know what you think about Termix. Let a comment down below in case you are using it or in case you're using a different tool. So thanks for watching.